Archaeologists found ancient skeletons holding hands with their dogs. You think death separates you from your best friend? But these graves prove that 10,000 years ago, love lasted forever. Welcome to ChickaPaws. Today, you will discover why prehistoric humans trusted their souls to puppies. This isn't just history. It is the origin of the bond you feel right now. Let's dig in. Exploring ancient afterlife mythology. Have you ever stared into the dark and wondered, what comes next? For thousands of years, humans have been obsessed with the afterlife. We build pyramids, we write scriptures, and we pray. But there is one terrified thought that crosses everyone's mind at least once. Will I have to walk that path alone? You see, in almost every ancient mythology, the journey to the other side is dangerous. It is dark, it is lonely, and it is full of judgment. But here is the thing that history books often gloss over. Our ancestors, the ones who lived in caves and fought for survival every single day, they didn't believe they had to face that darkness by themselves. They believed they had a guardian. Now, you might think I'm talking about angels or gods, but I'm not. I'm talking about something much more primal, something breathing right beside you. If you think your current view of spirituality is complete, you might want to rethink that. Because what archaeologists are finding in the dirt suggests that our modern understanding of the soul is missing a massive piece of the puzzle. It wasn't about gold or treasures. It was about companionship. But hold on, because the way they ensured this companionship, well, it's going to make you look at your own dog very differently tonight. Uncovering prehistoric dog burials. So, let's dig a little deeper. Literally. When archaeologists started brushing away the dust of prehistory, they expected to find tools, weapons, maybe some pottery. And they did. But then, they found the bodies. Now, finding a human grave is standard. Finding an animal pile is standard. Usually that's just leftover dinner. But then, they started finding something that defied the logic of survival of the fittest. They found dogs buried with care, not thrown in a pit, but placed. This is where it gets interesting. Leading researchers and recent archaeological studies confirm that these weren't just random burials. The positioning suggests ritual. It suggests respect. In a world where starvation was a daily threat, why would you waste precious resources burying an animal? Unless that animal wasn't just an animal. Here is the unsettling part. If you think you treat your pet like royalty, you have nothing on these prehistoric humans. They didn't just tolerate these dogs, they revered them. But what they did next goes beyond just burying a pet. It crosses a line that makes many modern people uncomfortable. The deep history of companionship. Let's talk about time. We aren't talking about a few hundred years ago. We're talking about tens of thousands of years ago. Before cities, before farming, before writing. Just imagine that world. It is brutal. It is cold. Everything out there wants to kill you. And yet, in that harsh reality, a wolf stepped out of the shadows and decided to sit by the fire, and a human decided not to kill it. That moment changed everything. It wasn't just about hunting help, it was an emotional evolution. But here is a hard truth that might sting a little. We didn't domesticate them just to be useful. We bonded with them because we were lonely. There is a theory, supported by evolutionary biologists, that we evolved together. Our brains changed because of them. We learned empathy from a species that wasn't even human. That is profound. But here is the part they didn't tell you in history class. This bond was so intense, so overpowering, that it started to terrify people. They began to wonder, if this bond is this strong in life, why should it break in death? And that brings us to a discovery that shocked the scientific community to its core. A shocking archaeological discovery. Picture this: a dig site, dust flying, the sun beating down. An archaeologist unearths a grave. They see a human skeleton. Normal, right? But then, right beside it, nestled against the ribs, is another skeleton. a dog. Now, you might be thinking, okay, they were buried together. Cute. But no. It is not just that they were in the same hole, it's how they were arranged. The controversy here is real. For a long time, scholars argued that animals didn't have souls in the eyes of early man. They were property. But this discovery shattered that arrogance. You don't bury your property with tears. You don't bury a tool with tenderness. The layout of these graves implies equality. Let that sink in. A prehistoric hunter who barely had enough to eat saw this creature as his equal. But wait, if you think that's surprising, just wait until you hear about the specific detail they found in the skeletal positioning. It is going to give you goosebumps. Found, buried hand in hand. This is the image I want burned into your brain. In these ancient graves, they found the human and the dog holding hands. Let me repeat that. A human skeleton, a dog skeleton, with the human hand resting lovingly, intentionally on the dog's paw, or the dog's head resting in the human's palm. It completely destroys the idea that love is a modern luxury. This is tens of thousands of years ago. In the middle of a brutal existence, someone took the time, in their final moments or the moments of burial, to ensure they were touching. It is heartbreaking. It is beautiful. And honestly, it is a little shocking. It suggests that the fear of death was mitigated by the touch of a dog. But here is the darker, more ego-provoking question. Would anyone do that for you? In a world of digital connections and shallow relationships, do you have a bond that strong? Because these primitive people did, and they took it to the grave, literally. Crossing the boundaries of life. So why? Why hand in hand? It wasn't just for comfort. It was a map. The prevailing theory in these specific archaeological circles is that the dog was a guide. The psychopomp, a guide of souls. The belief was that the human soul might get lost in the dark transition of death, but the dog can see in the dark. The dog can smell the path. By holding the paw, the human wasn't just showing affection. They were holding onto their lifeline. They were saying, "Lead me through." It implies a trust that is absolute. They trusted the dog with their eternal soul. That is a heavy responsibility to put on a puppy, isn't it? But it makes you wonder about the dogs we have today. When your dog stares at something in the corner of the room that you can't see, maybe they are practicing. Maybe they still know the way. But what happens next will surprise you. Because this wasn't just a one-time thing. It signals something about human nature that we have almost forgotten. The bond that transcended death. We live in a world that tells us death is the end. We separate everything. Humans here, animals there. Heaven for us, nothing for them. But these ancient graves, they scream a different truth. They tell us that the bond between a human and a dog isn't biological. It is spiritual. It is eternal. The findings of people buried hand in hand with their dogs prove that this connection transcended the boundaries of life tens of thousands of years ago. It forces us to be humble. We haven't invented loving our pets. We are just remembering it. So, the next time you look at your dog and you feel that overwhelming surge of love, don't dismiss it. It is not just chemicals in your brain. It is an ancient echo. It is the same feeling that made a prehistoric hunter reach out his hand, grab a paw, and say, "I am not going anywhere without you." And that is a loyalty worth dying for. Now, I have to ask, if you had the choice, would you want your best friend beside you for the long sleep? Or is that too strange for modern times? Think about it, because history says it's the most human thing you could possibly do. That hand-in-hand burial proves one thing. You aren't just a pet owner. You are a soulmate. If you believe dogs are family, hit that like button and subscribe to ChickaPaws. Would you choose to rest eternally beside your pup? Tell us in the comments.